Welcome, everybody, back into another episode of Two Fat Guys in a Dream. Of course, I'm your host with the most, Truman Steam Machine Steen. As always, I'm joined here by my father, Scott Steen. Scott, how are you doing?
Doing well, Truman. Post holidays, and I'm excited to be back at it. I'm excited to be back on the journey, man.
I feel that. I'm glad to be here, honestly. I'm glad to be back in this kind of rhythm. We kind of fell out of that rhythm, and, it's one of those where it's, you think about, dieting, eating healthy, it's all, it kind of wears on me just a little bit. And then you don't do it, and you're like, man, I kind of miss this. Again, we're going to talk about this a lot, actually. Today we have a little bit of an interview. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but, you don't miss it. You don't hate those things as much as you thought, and you don't miss the things that you stopped doing as much as or they're not as nice when you go back to them. So we can talk a little bit more about that. But Scott, welcome everybody into another episode of Two Fat Guys in a Dream. Today, we're gonna catch up. We're gonna do go over our weight, talk about how the holidays went. I think we both backtracked a bit. We're gonna talk about where we're starting here and kind of the revamp after our holiday break here, and then we actually have a very special. We have an interview, our first ever interview for Two Fat Guys in a Dream. We're interviewing your buddy Garry, who lost over 100 pounds.
Right at 100, yeah, exactly 100 pounds, yeah.
And you're going to find out how fast he did it, how he did it, what a lot of his motivations for doing it. It's a great story that has really changed a lot of my perspectives on how I want to attack this and what this should mean to me.
I got to tell you, he was a great get. The dude should be a motivational speaker. Because you're going to hear the interview in a minute. I literally said, "Hey, tell us your story," and like a half an hour later, we're like, "Okay, that's a cool story." And
right,
yeah, we did. We need more listeners, Truman, because we need to share that story. It's a great story. I'm anxious for everybody to hear it.
Right. So, without further ado, let's get into our weight. Let's get into the bad news first before we get to the great news of that interview. Scott, I'm going to start here. I weighed in this morning. We weighed in. It's Thursday. January 11th? Just for everybody keeping up. I weighed in this morning 254.4.
Okay.
Not the best. Not the best. So that means I gained about 7.5 pounds over a holiday break. We took about. I thought about it. I think you're right. We took about 5 weeks off, just about. Maybe 4 to 5, somewhere there. We took off about mid-December till now. We're, like I said, January 11th. We're recording here. So we took off about 4 to 5 weeks. That means I gained about a pound a week. And I'll tell you, when we weren't recording, I was I relaxed it. Certainly around the holidays, I wasn't getting to the gym as much. I wasn't. I ate. I indulged in a couple things I normally don't indulge in, and it shows, right? I'm back up to 254. We talked about how when I broke 250, how big of a goal it was that I got through there, and now I have to look at myself and say, man, now I'm back over that, and I'll tell you what, I want to be back under it. It's I miss how my clothes felt when I was under 250, when I was around that 245 mark, being that 10 pounds heavier. And you're like, man, my clothes do not feel the same way, and I do not like how this feels or what I got to worry about, and I miss not having to worry about that. So,
absolutely true. Now, Truman, for those regular viewers and listeners to our show, they know that I am a man of extremes, that I have very little margin for error, and when I put on weight, it comes in bunches, and a huge bunch came. I think as I sit here today, Truman, I'm 30 pounds heavier than my lowest that we were doing in the diet. I think I was at 292 at one point. I may have been 294. I can't remember how low I got.
I think you were 290. Yeah, you were 292, and I believe that was right. No, was that when you got sick?
No, that would have been legit. That would have been somewhere in the summer. Because I know when I went to Baltimore right around my birthday, and I was under 300. So I think a couple of weeks after that,
you're right.
I think I lost weight in Baltimore, oddly enough.
Yeah, so it was episode 27. You were at 292, which I was at 245, and I was just at 243. So I would have been just getting back from Colby, Kansas, probably beginning of September.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds.
I imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have completely fallen off the wagon. And the thing is, I wasn't eating crazy. Nope. I wasn't like eating fast food and just pigging out on shit. It was, but we'd have sweets around, we'd have a couple things, I'd eat too much. It was just it's amazing how little margin of error I have at this age that everything, people always joke like, well, I look at a piece of cake and gain 5 pounds. That's the fucking way I feel
Right.
doing this. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't feel like I've eaten bad enough to gain 30 pounds, but the scale, she don't lie. She
Yeah.
don't lie. She don't
No.
lie.
Well,
The scale.
and what I did is I also, because I was still, when I say I relaxed and I wasn't doing as well, I aimed to go to the gym four to five times a week. I just was getting it 2 to 3 times a week, and then I had like 1 week where I didn't go at all. But so
Right.
I was still, so that gives me still a little bit of that wiggle room, even when I was falling off, that I don't fall all the way off if I'm still doing some amount of exercise. And I will say, I really started getting back into this about a week ago, about a week and a half ago. I was heavier. I was closer to 260, and now I'm back. So that is the benefit of all this, is that your body wants to snap that way, right? It wants to snap back to the healthy side of that, and that's what I'm realizing. When I've got back into this rhythm of eating healthy, I'm like, oh wow, I'm losing like a pound a day, a pound and a half. I'm getting a lot closer to where I want to be real quick. So that's been
Well,
nice.
and I did the same thing 9 days ago on the 2nd of January.
Mm-hmm.
I was 225.8. So, and I've actually put it like about a pound and a half on the last day, but I've
Right.
still lost 3.2 pounds in 9 days.
Yeah, because
So,
you're 322.6 this morning. I don't know if we ever said the number per se, but
oh yes, I said 30 pounds over 292. Yeah, but for those that are math impaired, yeah, 322.6
yeah.
is exactly where I sit as of today, Thursday morning, January the 11th. Um, and that's one of the things, that was one of my requests. I wanted to get on a regular schedule with weighing and shooting,
Yeah.
because we were kind of getting to the point where like, well, we're going to shoot, but we weighed last week and we're talking about what was 6 days ago, but this week isn't going to. So this is going to be as much in real time as we can get it. So
Well,
funny story. I was
go
going to
ahead.
say the week before Thanksgiving, I kind of realized I was going off the rails. I was at 350. I was at 315.9.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, what if I just from here on out lost 2 pounds a week? And the weird thing is, and this was totally unplanned. I ran through it. I ran through the rest of the year, and I ran through all of 2024. I would weigh under 200 pounds on January the 1st, 2025.
If you lost
Yeah,
2 pounds a week from here on
I
out.
lost 2 pounds a week from the 17th of November, right? So since then, I have put on 11 pounds. So, and I'm actually keeping track of how on track I am, and I am now 22.5 pounds over my pace.
I would say you're gonna have
So
to lose about what 2.5. It was about
around
math that
around
yeah,
two around 2.5, give or take. Yeah,
if you're gonna
yeah,
get
about
there by January 1st. Yeah.
2.45. So, but again, we've talked about this. When you make the commitment, it should come off easy.
Yeah.
The first 15, 20 pounds should come off easy. So I'm planning on catching up there, but I can't get discouraged. I'm ready to do it. So anyway,
I'll tell you what. You know what's gonna have you even more ready to do it? Because I'm feeling more ready to do it after talking to him. Let's play the interview. I think again, one of the more, just it puts everything in perspective. It gets me right. I was thinking about having my normal, I normally treat myself a little bit on a Friday morning. It made me want to, not even think about it. It made me, sometimes I get a diet soda. It makes me not even want to get a diet soda for caffeine tomorrow morning. You know what I'm saying? That's how good this interview is. I don't want to I don't think I can
yeah,
overhype it. I know what it meant for me. I don't know. You'll see me on the camera. I feel like I was having just realization after realization where he's saying things. I'm like, damn, that's right. Damn, I've heard that. And I was quiet for a lot of that interview, and you'll just see me. You'll see it hitting. Listen, let's play the interview, and we'll come back after that. But without further ado, here's me and Scott talking to Scott's friend Garry.
my friend Gary Grittencord. Yeah, enjoy. All right, we have a new segment we're going to do this week, Truman. We have a interview that we're going to do to start the new year, and this is somebody that's going to, number one, tell us how he did it, and he's going to offer us a little bit of advice on how he thinks we should be doing it. And to call this guy my oldest friend in the world would not be hyperbole. This is somebody I grew up with. I've known since I was I don't know, 10, 9, one of those numbers. Now making his home in the beautiful Southern California. I'm sure it's beautiful this time of year. It's a million degrees in the summer. But he's fresh off 100 lbs, Truman, weight loss journey. It is my friend and hopefully soon to be yours, Mr. Garry Grettencourt. Gary, how are you this evening?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Fine. Now you're in. What are you in? Calexico?
Calexico, California.
Calexico, and then it's Mexicali on the other side, right?
Yep, they're sister cities.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
and
that
then
makes.
if we could just get your zip code, your street address, you're asking a lot of questions. It's a lot of.
Oh, wait. Look, the zip code is DOX. Oh wait, don't do that. Okay, go ahead.
Are you're still in that cul-de-sac? I assume. Good. No, it's good to have you here, man. And I know you got a kickstart to your journey, if you will, that all of us hope not to get. You got it, and you responded very well. So, Gary, tell us your story. Tell us what you were doing, and tell us how you got to the point where you are right now.
Well, in a nutshell, I had a double heart attack. The first one,
Wait, you have two
had to
hearts?
nope, just the one, and it did it twice.
Okay.
And the first one is one of those, that they always talk about. Feels like a bad indigestion. I would relate it saying it feels like a baby, a full-grown baby sitting on your chest the whole time. But I had done everything that would have brought that up to feel like that should be normal for what I did. Because I had lack of sleep, got up early, drank 3 times the coffee. So with about 4 hours of sleep, played 18 holes of golf, came home and ate a spicy lunch with a lot of sauce, tapatio, Mexican sauce on the lunch. And so naturally, about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I had this beginning of what felt like a bad heartburn. So of course I played it off as heartburn because everything seemed like that would be natural.
Sure.
3 days later, I was not doing well. This was back in May of 21. 3 days later, I was actually feeling a little worse. 2 days later, my family said, you really ought to go to the ER. And I was like, no, if I don't feel better tomorrow, I will. Woke up, it was Sunday the next day. I couldn't even do the normal chores. I just felt that bad. I said, let's go. In fact, I felt so sure there was a pretty good problem there that we packed as though I might be staying a little bit. And I get to the ER in El Centro, which is just north of us. And they test your blood for something called troponin because they thought, well, maybe I had a heart attack. And the blood test came back positive. They said you were 60 times too high of the troponin. You had a heart attack and you probably had it 3 days ago, Thursday, when you felt that indigestion begin. I said, what's next? They said, well, normally we would take you to San Diego. We don't do anything here. You're going to need everybody to assemble a team and actually go up your femoral artery and check out your heart arteries and see where the problem lies. And I said, okay, so you don't have that here. He says, no, we're going to admit you here overnight if we have to. Since it's Sunday, we probably will, and take you out by ambulance tomorrow. I said, okay, my wife can't take me now. I said, you had a heart attack. You're going nowhere. And boy, was that prophetic. My wife says, okay, we're going to San Diego, maybe today, no later than tomorrow. I'm going to go home and pack and come back. So about 15, 20-minute drive south and back. And she's on her way back, still maybe 10, 15 minutes out, arriving back at the ER at the hospital in El Centro. And the baby got knocked off my chest and the elephant took a seat.
Oh.
So right then there in the ER, experience what's called a massive heart attack. And when they say it's an elephant on your chest, believe me, they know what they're talking about. I'd always assumed an elephant on your chest would be painful and quite discomforting and a lot of pressure, but I didn't assume the obvious. And the obvious was something I didn't think about. How the hell do you breathe with an elephant on your chest? So I'm struggling for the tiniest gasp of air. Telling myself, don't pass out. This is something you may not wake up from. So I fought it. My wife showed up and realized all hell had broke loose. And now, of course, before she even arrived, they called the helicopter team and assembled a stat get ready team over the hill in San Diego to tend to me quite quickly. So that ended up with 6 days in the ER, one stent in my right coronary artery. And they're telling me I'm basically diabetic because if you're pre-diabetes and have a heart attack, you're diabetic in their eyes. And that was when diabetes was 7.0 and above on the A1C test. That was in May of 21. By September of 21, the American Diabetic Association lowered that, just like they keep lowering our weight standards. Not the American Diabetic Association, but the other people that lower the weight standards seems like every few years, to 6.5. So 6.5 and above was then diabetic. So my new goal was you need to be below 5.7 to not be pre-diabetic, A1C. So I was like, okay. And so they had me on, I want to say, a dozen medications for coronary and diabetes. And then I got a dietitian coming in telling me, here's what you got to do for diabetes. Of course, it's low carb, and it's basically very healthful in its own right. And then the coronary team's coming in and they want low fat triglycerides, and they want a low cholesterol, the bad low cholesterol. And I said, can we meld these two diets together? And they apparently, I'm going to say it's probably, hospital regulation lawsuits, Lord knows what. They said, we can only tell you what each one says, and you need to put them together. So finally, I cornered my cardiologist from the hospital in the ICU, and I said, look, I'm looking at a modified Mediterranean diet. And that means Mediterranean diet seems to allow for some potatoes, some white rice, egg yolk, a little more salt. I want to eliminate those things from the Mediterranean diet and then stick with that. There's no white bread or anything like that either. And I go, does that seem to take care of both sides of the coin? He says, since you said it, I can say, I like what you're saying. I said, there you go. And that's what I've been eating ever since. The modified Mediterranean, because the Mediterranean diet, here's the joke on that. Anything you eat is your diet. But the difference is most diets are fads. And fads are roller coasters, and roller coasters, everybody knows, are a horrible ride for your body. They say it can be worse for you than to not diet at all. So I knew this, and that's why I never lost the weight. I was weighing 275 at 6 foot, and I carried it everywhere. So when they say just the visceral fat, the rollover belly, boy, there's a sure sign of a heart attack waiting to happen. And I thought, well, I'm carrying it everywhere, and I did not have a rollover belly. It was spread throughout, bigger cheeks, everywhere, and neck, all of it. And that may be true that the odds go up if it's just visceral fat, but I think genetics play a huge role, and on my mom's side that exists, the coronary disease.
What was your diet like before? What would a typical day consist of?
Any damn thing I wanted to eat. Fried chicken from Kentucky Fried with the potatoes and gravy. Okay. Burgers anywhere. Whatever it was, I'd eat it. Tacos.
So you weren't doing anything. You had no thoughts towards calories in anything like that. Okay.
And on top of just the diet, I also wasn't performing any regular exercise. I always felt like I kept moving a bunch. Like I was not winded going up and down stairs. I played golf reasonable once a month, sometimes twice a month.
You walking?
No, I wouldn't do anything then.
No, you didn't. You took a cart on the course?
I pretty much lived in the car for most travel. So
no, the cart, your golf cart.
Oh yeah, the cart. I'm sorry, you're talking about golf alone. I thought you meant walking for health. No, yeah, golf alone. We always carted. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You still get a certain amount of walking in, but you don't do anything. You walk.
Well, when you play like I do, you get a hell of a lot of walking in, even in the cart. But
so yeah. You also get a lot of fine and steep.
Yeah.
Well, but
apparently it's a vertical game, not a horizontal game. Who knew?
Oh, that's what they say. But so what happened to me in a nutshell is my wife paid attention to what they were feeding me in the hospital because they had to match both diets of coronary issue and diabetes. And what happened also is I was lucky. I got University of California, San Diego, which is in La Jolla, and they're a top-notch cardiology unit there. So I was really lucky that, I ended up there. More so, you guys will love this. It's a quick story. They had just been, and I don't think they were ransomware. I think they were just hacked and screwed. We have two hospitals down here. We have the El Centro, which is where I went, which is a little closer. Brawley's about another 15 minutes north of El Centro, and they have their own hospital. Now, Brawley's buddies up with Scripps in San Diego, and El Centro was teamed with UCSD La Jolla for such things. And Hillcrest also is another UCSD, but they didn't have the coronary. So they're good for head trauma, for example. But so what happened is I went to the right hospital because apparently they had just slammed Scripps with an attack, and they weren't going to be able to accept patients anyway.
Oh, good.
So I'm glad we did that. Yeah, so I was lucky I went to El Centro and ended up at the right place.
So,
well, my wife
Jeez.
followed the diet. She watched what they were feeding me.
Okay.
We agreed to the modified Mediterranean. Came home, and that's all I've been eating.
Hey, how long did it take you to drop the 100 pounds?
I dropped 95 pounds in the first 5-6 months.
The first 5 or 6 months?
Wow.
95 pounds.
Good Lord. Good
Yeah,
Lord.
I went from 275 to 180 in the first 5 to 6 months. Yeah.
That's pretty unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
It was a rapid. I couldn't believe the weight loss. Well, you got to understand, the first month or two, I wasn't eating very well.
Yeah.
I was one beat puppy.
Yeah.
When you have a massive heart attack, you are weakened and a mess. I was here, like my summers. I was turning the air to a higher temperature so I could stay warmer in the house. I was cold and wearing a sweatshirt in the summer in my house.
Wow.
I was so weak.
You know,
just weakened.
I had a buddy of mine that I worked with that said one time that, like, for every day you're in the hospital or you're down and not able to do anything, takes 2 days of recovery. And I think that's probably pretty close to right. If you're fucked up for 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to be a month and a half before you start feeling.
Yeah, I was in the hospital for 6 days. They were all in the ICU, and that would have been 2 weeks max. I should have been back to par. No, I didn't start feeling really decent again until 5.5 months after the massive.
Oh, it took that long, huh?
I was saying the ICU. I imagine you could just do a month per day. I don't. That's not just your average hospital stay there.
Yeah, I think that would be closer to true.
Yeah, that's probably the formula probably differs a little bit there. So for sure.
And I also got lucky because they informed me on day 2 or 3, hey, you got AFib, and I said I never had AFib. They said normally this happens when you have a massive. We're going to put you to sleep for, believe it or not, 5 minutes, and we're going to paddle you. And normally it happens perfectly. If there are rare circumstances, it doesn't. And they apparently did that, put me to sleep, paddled me once. And I've never had it since. And of course, they've had to monitor me within the first year of release from the ICU, including 1 week where I had to wear around a device to monitor my heart full time because the cardiologist that I see here locally said, we don't want to see a moment in time. We want to see the whole week. Then we'll know if you definitely got rid of AFib completely. And it's gone. So I was very fortunate there too. And I basically got a do-over. And this is something you got to really take to heart. And anybody that would dare watch this to take to heart. If you get a do-over, don't be an idiot. Take it. See, the cardiologist here in El Centro said, if it was your left side of your heart, there's usually ongoing problems, ongoing medications. We would know you had a heart attack on your left side, but on your right side, other than you have a stent, and there's another nice thing. They were able to put one stent in, that's all I needed, through the femoral artery, no open heart surgery, no cutting my sternum, no messy thing like that. And she said, we wouldn't even know you had a heart attack with that on your right side 6 months later, except for the stent. And I thought in my brain, she didn't hear me think this, but I told her later, you told me basically I get a do-over and I'm going to take it. I had a guy behind me that I worked with who was in the office behind mine with doors open. We'd often, we got along great. We were both in the Intel office, and he had a bad diabetes, bad. Still type 2, but top of the line type 2. And he would still eat anything. He was just eating whatever he wanted still. And I said, what's wrong with you? I said, you were a Marine. I was Air Force. You were a Marine. Where's that Marine dedication? Change your diet, mister. You're eating a regular rolled up Mexican taco and you're sweating bullets because your body's dying trying to process even that. Stop it. And he wouldn't do it. And I realized, well, what am I going to give this guy advice and then 10 years later, 12 years later, not follow my own advice? Well, hell no.
Yeah.
I changed.
No.
I changed.
That's fair. That's fair,
That's
man.
right.
That's a hell of a journey, and losing it that fast. That's pretty incredible. Did you increase your exercise, or well, I guess you said you didn't feel good for 5 or 6 months. So by the time you started feeling good, the weight was gone.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with exercise on the original 95 pounds of loss.
Wow.
And remember, that would have been May to, let's see, June, July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, before even the first of the year of 2022. And between then and this, I want to say maybe November of this year, just a couple months ago, somehow another 5 pounds came off. But It's also because I start walking instead of, because I will not walk in the summer. It's too hot here. So I do a stationary bike, and I do 45 minutes of cardio either way. And I either walk 2 miles or I do about 10 and a half miles on the stationary bike, and they're both 45 minutes. Maybe the walking just did more, but it also might be that we're having a nice cold winter, and you burn calories with the cold, and I'm not eating anything extra. I'm not eating more because of that.
Right.
And maybe that's where I lost it. I don't know, but I am down to this morning. I woke up, I weighed 174.
Okay. So,
That's my high school weight.
Is that right?
That's 63 and a half. And that's my high school weight.
That's unbelievable. So let me ask you this. You listen to our show. You've watched our show before. What is your advice for us? What are we, because we are starting the show back up after about a 5-week layoff, or I don't know. I don't even know.
It's like 3 weeks. It's
3 weeks? Is it just 3 weeks? I think it's longer than
I think so.
But
Yeah,
anyway.
right.
All right. But
Sorry.
So we kind of fell, at least I did. I don't even know what Truman's weight is. But I fell off the wagon seriously over the holidays, put a bunch back on. So we're rededicating. So what would be your advice going forward for me specifically? And if it applies to somebody younger, that's great too. But what would be your advice for me?
My advice for you is the same advice I give to Truman and everybody. And the younger you do it, way to go, you're smarter. Because my problem is, the reason I never did these things is I thought I'd get away with it. No different than a cigarette smoker would say, I'll be the one that doesn't get heart disease or lung disease from this. Well, good luck with that. You're rolling the dice, it's Russian roulette. But I thought I'd get away with it. I look more like my dad. His side of the family has none of that. It was my mom's side that did, but when it's all said and done, we're 50-50 from both parents, and I probably have some of her buildup in my coronary issue. It's clogged that artery. Fortunately for me, they had to check all the other arteries. Everything else is okay. My advice is, we're all stupid, including I was. We're just stupid, and I'll tell you why. Let's say you go out because you have just enough money that you can afford the best Ferrari you've always dreamed of, because somehow you've just dreamed of this top-notch Ferrari. You go buy this new Ferrari. You can afford the insurance. You can afford the maintenance, the upkeep, and you were able to afford the car. If you were fortunate enough, are you going to just go give it shit gas at the pump? No, you're not. Are you going to just give it average service and maintenance? No, you're going to make sure they take care of your baby. And yet here we are looking at the world's greatest Ferrari ourselves. Because guess what? We can't trade it in. We don't get a new one. This is it. This is our Ferrari. And it's worth more than any Ferrari. It's the only one we've got for life. Now, people always say, do you want to, how long do you want to live? The answer to that should always be, as long as I have quality of life, I want to live lengthy. But if the quality of life is gone, I don't really care to live anymore. Now, you guys don't live in a right to die state. We do. 2 doctors can sign off and you're gone. And I think that's spectacular, and I'll tell you why. We do that with animals. We call it the humane thing to do, coming from the word human, humane, and yet we won't do it to ourselves. Ridiculous.
I watched my dad go through it. He would have done it in a heartbeat.
And my brother in Florida got to a point where he would have done it at some point. He wouldn't have went all the way to the end with his lung cancer. No way.
Right.
No way.
Yeah,
and it's hard on the family. It's hard on those around you because they get to suffer longer and greater.
Yep, 100%. All right, so you had an opinion about our incremental way that we're doing it, because I won't say we're half-assing it, but we're trying to incorporate our diet into regular life and leave a little room. And I know at one point you had an opinion on that method. What was that? What was that opinion?
It's not at one point. It's an opinion I'll always have and I'll keep. There's no such thing as a diet. A diet is a losing proposition. If you look at it from the term we use for commercial dieting. But the word diet, as in this is what you're eating and drinking, that form of diet, we all know what we're basically doing was wrong, or it's still wrong if you're still doing it. There's nobody in the world that thinks eating the things that people eat, for the most part, is healthy. almost all fast food, most of the foods at restaurants. You don't see where's the modified Mediterranean diet restaurant. Well, guess what? It's not going to make enough money. You know why? Because most people don't treat their number one best priority they could ever own well. They're taking the best vehicle they've got, the only vehicle they got, and they're treating it poorly. And I knew I was, but I thought I'd get away with it. So my opinion, and this is what I told you, and I'll tell anybody, is it's not come say, come saw. It's a switch. It's an on-off switch. And you've got to flip that switch. And it's got to go on full time. You're done. You're done with the games. Same thing if you want to quit cigarettes. Same thing if you want to quit anything. Now, food's the hardest. Food is the hardest because if you quit heroin, if you quit cocaine, if you quit cigarettes, you can stay away from them.
Right.
But you can't stay away from food.
Right.
Because you have to eat to live. And that's the problem.
That is
So
what
if you
makes
have
it unique.
if you have any type of a food addiction in any form or habit, that's going to be really hard unless you flip the switch. We don't give ourselves enough credit to what our brain is capable of on the switch. If you really say, I'm done, and you flip the switch and say, I'm not going back to that again, it works.
Yeah.
Now, my doctors are all amazed. I'm such an exception to the rule. My cardiologist, my family physician, they all say nobody could do it. Even another doctor's a friend of mine. He's a pediatric surgeon. I'm sorry, not pediatric surgeon, podiatric surgeon for feet and ankles. And he couldn't believe it. He goes, I can't do it. And he's a doctor. He's a surgeon. He goes, I can't do it. I can't do what you did. I said, can't is the wrong word. It won't because it's a choice.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
I told you we were going to get some tough love, buddy.
no, I believe it. I mean, and it's a great point. Even you talk about, quitting cigarettes or quitting heroin and all those things, is that the way that, a lot of people, once they quit, they get out of the situations of they stop hanging out with the people that they were doing heroin with. They don't go outside with their smoker friends. But as a society, fast food and all those things, it's such a everyday part of society. You drive down the street, there's a McDonald's on every corner. There's, your buddies, you're at work and somebody says, well, let's just go out and grab a bite.
Look, it's donut day. Somebody brings in donuts.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. You want to go on a cruise? You got the cruise buffet.
Oh,
you want to go on a vacation? Vacation's always going to be about food. Is that a family reunion? There's the food again. Oh, it's everywhere. You can't, it's kind of like cigarette smokers who try to quit and someone goes, come on, have one. You don't think I don't experience that with the food?
Right.
And they'll say things like, well, you can have a small bite just to taste it. And I'll go, tempt me not. I've had that.
It's like you live in a house. It's like you live in a house where a bunch of people do cocaine and you're like, all right, I'm not going to do cocaine anymore. But everybody around you, everywhere you go, they're all doing cocaine. And it's the same thing.
Just you give a little. You just like the smell of it,
Just have an order. Just have a couple fries. It'll be fine.
Yeah, my son does that to me. He eats absolutely everything, and I was eating it with him before the event of the heart attack. And yeah, and here's the greatest thing. I still say the best people that ever quit smoking cigarettes can hang around somebody that smokes and even have people offer them cigarettes. In fact, someone would even carry a pack to remind them, there it is, but you don't want one, do you, anymore? No, you're done. But here, you got as a reminder to remind you, that's poison, stay away from it. Speaking of poison, it's another good way to look at these foods. Let's say you're a cigarette smoker. And they say your chance of, by the way, heart disease is the number one. People think it's lung disease. That's number two with cigarette smoking. Heart disease is number one. Mm-hmm. But let's say that you start smoking those cigarettes when you're Truman's age or younger. And they'll go, okay, is Truman going to get sick from smoking cigarettes in a week? No. A month? No. Years? No. Decades? Yes. Many decades usually, at least 3 probably. Okay, what makes you think this bad food's any different? Look, even if it doesn't give you a heart attack, even if your bloodline, Scott and Truman, it seems to be your bloodline seems to be that way and that well handled with coronary, because it doesn't seem to run in your family.
No.
And you guys are really, I knew your parents, and they fought obesity as well, but the heart attack wasn't a thing. So you've been blessed genetically with that. But does that mean you'll be blessed genetically with diabetes? Does that mean you'll be blessed genetically with the other ills that can come from bad fuel, which is the drink and food we're providing our bodies? And the answer is no, there's no guarantee on any of that. You're probably going to brush up against some pretty bad things over decades of bad fuel for your body. And I say fuel because that's the liquid and the food.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, and the best part of it is that, there is still food that is good that can be good for you. I mean, I think that's like I was having this week where I wasn't eating because I was full, and that was the thing. And my girlfriend was eating McDonald's, and I was like in the car, and she's like, "Here, I'll give you a fry." I had a fry, and when I sat there and I really, if you're not eating anything else, if you're not having the burger on the side and then putting the fries in your mouth, when you're just eating a fry, you're like, man, this isn't how it felt. This doesn't taste good when it's on its own. This doesn't taste good if I'm not drinking
That
something
grease
else it's
like
just
roof
greasy.
of your mouth and shit. Yeah.
The potato doesn't, it's not good potatoes. It's all very low quality. And when you break them down into their own components, if you're actually trying to taste that food, you realize how, not good that food is. And it's, and like you said, it tastes bad because your body wants to reject it. It's the same thing with alcohol, where you have to build up a tolerance to alcohol because it is poison in your body, and that's why your body doesn't want to drink alcohol. That's why it tastes bad. That's why your body tries to not do it. It's almost the same with fast food. If you really sit down and think about it, it doesn't taste good, and it doesn't make your body feel good afterwards. But the more you eat it, the less you notice it. And so when you're stepping away from it, I assume it's also one of those where I know a lot of people talk about it when they stop drinking soda. You go back and drink soda, and the soda's, you're like, this is awful. I hate this. And I assume it starts to become a lot like that with greasy fast foods and things like that as well.
Have you fallen off the wagon? That's what I was going to ask you. Have you had a cheat day, or have you gone to a restaurant and said, fuck it, I'm just going to have a burger or a steak or whatever? I mean, I know you eat steak, but
I can have a steak. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you made unhealthy choices occasionally since you've been on your plan?
Not once.
Not once?
No. To me, it's a switch. Yeah, I told you, it's a light switch. The light switch has been flipped, and I'm done. Here's something I have that Truman wouldn't have. You would, Scott. I can look back and go, thank you very much. I've eaten that before. In fact, I could probably not name how many times before I've eaten that.
Oh, he's been giving it his best shot. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I've eaten. What have I not really eaten that I wanted to eat? Now, if you were to ask me, do I miss some of those foods? Not anymore. Maybe a little at first, but not anymore, because I know that they're poison. They're slow poison, but they are poison all the same.
Well,
they're not.
And I've said that before, because even as you say, we haven't totally flipped the switch, but we've eaten much healthier. So a lot of things I can't, like a donut that I love or cookies, and that is my philosophy. I've said it before. Well, fuck, if I haven't had enough donuts by now, I guess I missed my chance.
Well, and I think you miss the idea of the food, right? It's like breaking up with a girlfriend, where it's like, oh, she was the best, what? And then you go back to your ex, and you're like, this is awful. I can't believe that's what I thought it was.
Right. Look at it like this: if you quit smoking cigarettes, or you quit snorting heroin and coke or meth,
I don't have to give those up now, do I?
Yeah.
We're not going crazy.
Hopefully not, because then you wouldn't be able to have all the energy for these podcasts. But listen, the thing is that if you did that, you gave up cigarettes.
He's a fucking sniper, is what he is, Truman. He hides in the bushes. He's a fucking sniper. I'm up there slapping you upside the head. Gary's in the bushes. You don't even see movement. All of a sudden, fucking headshot. You're like, where did that come? He's gone. Forget about it.
That's straight.
You're saying that to someone who did. You're saying this to someone who has expert marksman. So yeah.
You're one of those famous Air Force snipers, were you?
No, this was all is my other job, and I believe it was 2 center mass, 1 headshot. I believe it's click center mass, vertical tracking headshot, and I had it down to a science. But here's the deal: what we do is, if you give up heroin, you give up meth, you give up cocaine, you give up cigarettes. Think of food, and people go, oh, you can have a cheat day. Because if you don't do a little cheat, you're likely to, and you'll hear this a lot. You guys have heard this. Everybody's heard this. Oh, then you're likely to fail completely on your diet, because then you're going to be bored with your food and drink, and you're going to give up on it in a matter of time. You're going to hate it. It's going to be too blasé for you.
I believe that's a point we've made often on this show.
Oh, yeah. And the answer is BS. It's the same as giving up cocaine, heroin, alcohol, cigarettes. If you go back and have a little taste because that's your treat, you've just done the wrong thing again. You didn't leave the switch on the other cycle. You brought it back down to where it doesn't belong. you either say no more poison, because I don't smoke either. I don't chew tobacco. I don't smoke. I saw you had a vape there, Scott. I don't vape. I don't do anything. I literally do treat my body.
Sit in my fucking house and try to figure out Discord.
Yeah, like I treat my body like it's a Ferrari that I can ill afford to mistreat because it's the best car in the world. It's the only one I've got. How dare I mistreat it? And I did for a while because I thought I'd get away with it. And if you get away with it, great. You could drive your Ferrari around and give it whatever poor service and regular gas and hope it worked out for you. And good luck with that. And if it did, great.
You're more like a 64 hell of it. That's just me.
Yeah, I can't do that anymore because I had my experience and I won't do it again. And when you see what the doctors tell you when you're seeing them, when I look forward to seeing a doctor now, when I used to hate to see a doctor and get his condescending bad news, you're just borderline everything, buddy. It's the opposite. And the opposite feels good. And the opposite is true in my numbers. The only medicine that I'm on prescription is a 40 milligram Lipitor every evening. And that's because I'm not a total vegan. I eat very lean meat, no fat, no grease. I eat egg whites. I eat the healthy cheese, which is like mozzarella cheese and low-fat Swiss. So I get some dairy in me, like a 000 yogurt and things like that. And that, because I had the heart attack, they said, look, we're just going to make sure you take the Lipitor because you need that. So that's the only treat I have other than a baby aspirin because I had the heart attack. And that's over the counter every day. One baby aspirin. So the baby aspirin is not going to really affect my numbers. The Lipitor may help my cholesterol numbers a little bit, obviously, with the beating down the low. And the high goes up due to the exercise. That's how you get your high up, which is good cholesterol from exercise. You get your low down lower, which is good by proper diet. And of course, Lipitor helps. But my numbers are equal to when I was, you remember me when I was 21, Scott?
Yep.
My numbers are the same as when I was 21. I have super low blood pressure. I'm not on blood pressure medication. I have super beautiful A1C and glucose. I'm not on any diabetic medication. They had me on them. I took myself off I told them I don't want them. And they said, you don't need them.
Wow. That's excellent. That's you've come a long way since, Truman, I've always told you the story about the guy in college that set himself on fire with 151 rum. That's the guy. That's the guy right there.
That's the guy. But now you're
set themselves on fire with 151.
Hey.
I'm sure Truman. I'm sure they never believed that story. That they thought I was exaggerating. That somebody just poured it on their shirt and their shirt exploded.
So,
they
Truman, your dad
selling 151 anymore. So
your dad is cruel, but Richard Pryor at least understood where I came from.
It was well. The amazing part is he still wanted to go. It was a Friday night. It was a Friday afternoon. It was Friday early evening. He still wanted to go out and party after we and everything. Now I think we need to get you over to the hospital.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that was
and now your blood pressure is back to where it was at that moment.
Right. It hasn't been low since he set himself on fire.
There's one way to come full circle here. I'm sensing. I don't know. But unfortunately, they stopped making 151.
My blood pressure was still low. I was lucky. Back then, I was able to eat whatever I wanted, and it didn't show, but I was also very active. Right. Obviously, you get older, get married, have children, work double shifts, and next thing you know, you don't get away with all that.
There you go.
Right. And then I'm working out at 5 a.m., but I don't have a kid to watch after or wake up early for. I still have my 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. free. So absolutely.
Yeah, enjoy that.
But it can be done,
dude. I appreciate.
If you don't flip the switch, you're messing around. You're messing around.
Okay.
You're toying around the edges. You're not trying to actually.
So I wanted to have you on the show, man. I wanted you to tell your story. And I wanted you to give us your opinion because you're a guy that's done it, and that's what we're going to try to make a commitment here with kind of the reboot of our show. We want to have some people on that have had some success. We want to find out how they did it. It's a super interesting story. I doubt, no matter how many people we have on with great weight loss journeys, I doubt we're going to find anybody that did it faster.
Well, and I will tell you this, the cardio for me is every day. If you ask me how many days have I been able not to do it for a super rare circumstance, maybe once every 4 to 6 months, I miss a day for something that comes up and there's no way I can do it.
Well, I'm pretty excited. Our new place, we're right across the street from a park. Of course, it's as as we do this right now, it's about 15 degrees outside, and there's 6 inches of snow in the park. So obviously that's out. But I do start still to try to get my steps inside. A pretty long hallway, and anyway, I try to still get cardio in every day. So there you go, dude. Thank you very much for doing the show, Gary. We appreciate it,
Yes, thank you.
and wish you obviously nothing but the best and continued success. And you're
Yeah,
retired. You're retired now, right, dude? You're
I
out.
was I was retired when I had the heart attack, and that's another reason why I probably flipped the switch. I was law enforcement federal, and I knew the death toll of retired law enforcement. The numbers are basically higher than anybody to die within the first 5 years of retirement because of the stress that they've taken throughout the job, and usually a poor diet and lack of exercise.
But a
And
lot of those aren't there a lot of those self-inflicted too?
there a lot of them are, but a lot of them are also just health related because what they say a law enforcement officer's food pyramid is sugar, caffeine, nicotine, and fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds right, man. Well, obviously, I made light of your chair force service, but seriously, as we say to every veteran on this show, thanks for your service, buddy. I know you did your stint, and then you spent a long time. I thought it would not be an exaggeration if I would just say help keeping America safe, because you absolutely did. You kept some of the worst of the worst from getting in. So it's a life well lived, and you're looks like chapter 2 is off to a great start. So thanks very much for doing the show. Congratulations on everything, buddy. It's always great to talk to you. You and I do try to stay in touch every couple months or so, and we'll be. I know we'd be rooting for the Chiefs with us this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your prediction? Because we do our football show too. So we
Okay.
we were missing. We didn't ask
I knew
you.
you were going to ask that. I knew you were going to ask that, and that's a great question because let's face it, Buffalo still showed they can dominate Miami, but the problem is Kansas City has shown such mediocrity this year for winning their division, and they're so scary. But I just think this weather's going to favor Kansas City also over Miami. I think Kansas City wins in what should be a pretty close game.
Very good. Did they beat the spread? I think it's Kansas City by 4 right now.
Are they by KC by 4?
KC, let's call it KC by 4. What's your play?
If I had to go with the spread, I would probably take Miami because it's just going to be a close game, and I don't even trust the 4 points. Kansas City's doing all they can do to get out of the third quarters and hopefully do great in the fourth. It seems the first 3 quarters.
My man, threading the needle. Chiefs on the money line, Dolphins to cover. Very nicely done, Garry. Thanks very much. We appreciate you being on the show, and good luck going forward. I know you and I will probably talk again real soon, and
we will,
and all that. So take care,
all
man.
right.
Have a great night. I appreciate it.
Good being on with you too, Truman.
Yeah, thank you, Garry.
Take care. And to anybody that does view this, I will leave the final thought. Your brain controls your decisions. I think the smartest man once said, we are the culmination of all of our decisions. That's what we are every way along the path. You have to make your own decisions. If you make one, stick with it if you mean it. Don't be wishy-washy with it. Pretend like it's a real battle. You're not going to go over to the front line and go, okay, I'm in the middle of this battle, and I'm just going to run out and get shot. You're going to think this through and be smart. Well, be smart with your life too, in this regular life. I'll leave it there.
That's a good closer, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Take care, Garry.
Yeah.
Yes, take care.
All right.
All right. Welcome back from the interview. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Honestly, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Really, just a great person to have on. A great person to put everything in perspective.
I'm not going to lie, Truman. I wanted to have him on for one reason. And I talked to him, like I said, we talk about, I don't know, once every couple months, once every 6 weeks or so. He's a night owl, and he's 2 hours ahead of me. So he knows I'm up late and mom's gone to bed or whatever. So we'll talk late. And he had said that about tough love, about flipping the switch. And I'm like, okay, if we're going to do this, I want to get that perspective. I kind of fucking sandbagged you here, buddy. Because I knew what he was. Now the story, I hadn't even heard that story. I knew he'd had a heart attack, but I didn't know all the nuts and bolts. So
Yeah.
hearing the whole story, that was absolutely new for me. But I knew what he was going to say about flipping the switch, and I thought that was, I wouldn't say that's the most interesting part because it was all fucking interesting. It's if you'll pardon the pun, it was definitely food for thought. So
Yeah. I mean,
there you go.
it certainly puts everything into perspective, right? It makes me not want to even think about cheating on it. It makes me not want to, because at the end of the day, uh, when you're trying to get fit, you're trying to get healthy. When you're at these larger sizes, you kind of have to do it like it's life or death. And it's one of those things we talk a lot about. Oh, actors lose weight in 6 months, or they get all this fit because it's their job and they have a.
Right.
But if you treat it like they do, where it's like, hey, listen, you can think about it however you want, right? They think about it. Oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose millions of dollars and get fired. Garry was thinking, if I don't do this, I'm going to die, right? I mean, it is life or death. And every day, in a much larger scale, just like he kind of talked about with fatty foods kind of being poison or being poison. I mean, it is kind of it is poison, right?
When you look at ultra processed foods and the amount of ingredients and the shit you can't pronounce that's in there, I don't, obviously it's not like strychnine. You're not going to put it on your tongue and die in 10 minutes.
Right.
But it's a slow working poison. I don't think there's any question about it. And the more that comes out about processed foods, the more that description is entirely accurate.
Yeah, and it's all it at the end of the day, it is small life or death situations when you're eating these fatty foods, when you're putting this stuff in your body. It's not good for you. It's not bad. It's not helping you get healthier, so it's certainly working against you. It's making you unhealthier. And plot twist, being unhealthier gets you closer to death at every step, right?
Here's the $1 million question. Because when we started this show, part of the goal was to show that real people could lose real weight without completely modifying their lifestyle and just making a series of small changes. Sure. Was that the wrong approach, Truman?
I'm not sure it's the wrong approach.
We both had some success,
right.
But obviously we hit a lot of roadblocks before this last purge on my part, or opposite of purge, the reverse purge. But we'd hit a lot of plateaus. We'd hit a lot of random obstacles in the way. So, is our way effective? Do we need to rethink it? Do we need to flip that switch?
I think,
or more importantly, since I got 30 years and 70 pounds on you, do you just need to hit the dimmer switch and I need to hit the fucking switch?
I think no matter what, I think you have to at some point hit a switch, right? And Garry makes a great point where diets, we talked about this before. The thing about diets is that it insists that there's an end, right? It insists that, okay, once I get to 200 pounds, then I can stop doing what got me down to 200 pounds. Then I'll be fine.
Right.
But that's not how it works, right? It has to be, and that's why he's talking about flipping the switch. He's talking about all these things because it has to become your lifestyle. It can't be, oh, well, I just have to do this for 6 months. No, Garry did lose 100 pounds in 6 months, but he's kept at that same weight because he never flipped back, right? Because that diet is a 175-pound person diet. Now he's 175 pounds, and he keeps on that diet, and now he'll be 175 pounds as long as he continues to eat like that.
I'll tell you, the most impressive part of that whole story is how many times have you cheated? None. So you lost 100 fucking pounds, and you're like, you know what? 100 pounds, I'm going to have a burger. I'm gonna have an order of... No. Didn't fucking do it, man.
And he talks about it. It's poison, and I imagine, I mentioned it slightly, but I imagine when you cut out those unhealthy foods and you stop eating shit, and you start eating actual, real, good food for you
all the time, every meal,
that you sit there and you go, oh, this is good, and this makes me feel good, and then you go back and eat that burger, and again, I think it's like we talked about. I had that fry, and I was like, this fry tastes like shit, man. It really isn't that good. Without my soda and my burger, And I bet if I know for sure if I just drink a soda on my own, I feel like shit. And I bet if I sat down there and just ate a McDonald's burger alone, I know I've had a double cheeseburger, and that thing is built like shit. So it's just, but when you put it all together and it's you're in a mindset, it all, we call it, we have grub buds, right? And we call it, it's good slop, right? It's just slop at that point.
Right. Right.
And why would you put slop and continue to put slop in your body when you can put this high premium food in today's world where you have this access to a vast food network? To be putting slop into your body is just, there's no excuse for it anymore, right?
And we didn't break down his diet on the micro level, but I know what he's eating in it. And it's not like I got to have organic or fucking grass fed, or he's not doing it. He's just getting shit from the grocery store, and him and his wife are turning it in to great meals.
Right.
Vegetables, meat, a minimal amount of carbs, brown rice, quinoa, that kind of thing.
He shouted out a diet that we've had on this show. We've talked about the Mediterranean diet. We know that's the best diet. We know that's the one that's recommended by cardiologists. And now we even have that it came from a cardiologist, that his cardiologist said, yes, that's the right diet to be doing. Yes, you are doing the right thing. You're doing the Mediterranean, but without even the white rice and the empty carbs, right? The not whole.
Yeah.
They're not the complex carbs. He's still doing complex carbs, but he's not doing the throwaway white bread, nothing carbs.
He took the Mediterranean diet and went, that is too much good food on that. I'm going to cut out egg yolks, and I'm going to cut out white rice and potatoes and all that stuff. So, okay. So I don't even know what diet you're going to do. We haven't even talked about what your plan of action is. Here's what I'm going to do, Truman. I need a week to get ready. I need a week to get my mindset right. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to flip the switch for 1 month. For 1 month, not a week. I'm going to flip the switch for 1 fucking month. And I want to see what happens. All right?
I've been doing a dry January, so I'm with you. I've been flipping switches all over the place.
Was that right? No liquor in January?
Yeah, I'm going to a conference, so there will be some expectation of having a couple drinks at the conference. So I'll probably we've joked that I'm not going to drink while I'm in town. While I'm in Kansas City, I'm not having alcohol. It's like when I go out of town for this conference and you have to schmooze a little bit and people will take you out to hospitality events, I'll have a couple drinks out there and whatnot. But yeah, for the most part, it's a dry January, and especially in Kansas City.
Okay. All right. Very good. Proud of you. I mean, I don't think you had a problem, but again, there's a lot of guys in their mid-20s that are hitting it pretty good, and I think you're hitting it pretty good.
Yeah, right. I mean, everybody
in your family did, buddy.
Right. Well, Tina kind of started where she's like, we've been drinking the last week or two when we've been out of town, and we got home. She's like, I feel like shit, man. She's like, I'm sick.
Right.
I think it's the drinking. She's like, I would like to stop drinking, and I was like, okay, let's stop.
I'll tell you this. I've got some friends that are even older than I am, mid-60s, and they still hit it hard. I got a buddy of mine. I saw him at a concert a couple of years ago. Him and his wife, they're just fucking ripped, just absolutely ripped. I'm like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? But you know what? People probably see me and go, hey, you're still fucking fat. What are you doing? What are you still eating like that for? You
have a whole show about not doing this anymore, right?
Right. I mean, the only difference is I'm not staggering around at a concert.
Well, the thing is,
I'm waddling around at a concert.
Yeah, if I got skinnier, then how am I supposed to get 5 more views on YouTube? I don't know, man.
Right. So what are you gonna do for a diet? Gonna flip the switch?
Just mostly flipping the switch, yes. Just getting back in it. Not fucking stop fucking around with this. It's talk about the diet that we've been doing. It's the low carb, high protein, low fat, or normal fat.
Right.
It's doing absolutely what we talked about. Track calories, 1800 calories, 80 carbs, not cheating on the weekend, not Yeah.
And I didn't ask him this. I think I know the answer. I think I've asked him before. He doesn't track a goddamn thing. He doesn't fucking track nothing.
Right.
He just eats healthy, and when he's full, he stops eating. Then or you have dinner, that's what's for dinner, and you eat it.
That's been my biggest success the last week is just not eating when I'm not hungry.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that too. And your mom's a big proponent of. By the way, we're going to start doing Mom's Minutes again, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
But you're going to. It's a situation where she's always been a big proponent of stopping eating before you're full. Like when you feel 75, 80% full, because it takes time for your body to register for all that food that you've just eaten to register that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a big proponent of doing that. So anyway, so that's exciting. I'm excited to get back on the trip. Yeah, you got anything else?
No. Nope.
All
Just
right.
the normal shout outs. Hey, follow us on Twitter, at Steam Machine, at Steen Roller, as we are always just making jokes about Steam and Steen. Gary pointed that out before we recorded. But also, hey, if you're watching here on YouTube, Open Disaster Productions, we appreciate a like and subscribe, a follow. If you're over there on Spotify, we appreciate you guys checking, rating, following, liking that as well. I believe there's a little
And
like Q&A section you can answer questions and tell us what you thought about the episode.
I was gonna say, and do us a favor, even if you don't normally comment, I know Gary's gonna be checking this out. Drop a comment to Gary and tell him thanks for doing the show, and tell him what you thought about his story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that'd be cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm ready, buddy. I'm ready. I've got it. I've got it. Fuck it. It's mapped out, man. The plan is there. I just have to execute it. I just have to what do you call it? Flip the switch.
Flip the switch, Scott. That's what we're gonna do here. Guys, we really appreciate you for being here. Appreciate you for hanging out. Again, I've been Truman the Steam Machine Steen. That's been Scott the Steen Rollers team. Guys, we'll see you next week. Appreciate you.
Take care, everybody.
Welcome back.